Welcome to ShapeLanguage. Our guest this week is a character artist at Moving Picture Company, or MPC, which is a VFX studio in Los Angeles that worked on recent movies like The Lion King, Godzilla, and Detective Pikachu, to name just a few. Well, at Gnomon, he won 7 out of 8 Best of Term awards for his character work. Now, if you're anything like me, you're probably thinking this guy has no chill, but in fact, he's one of the kindest souls I've met, and his relaxed presence really shines through in this talk. Some of the things that we cover include resources that he used to hone his excellent anatomy skills. We also all share the movies and games that we're excited about for the holidays. And this also happens to be our first guest who strongly believes in the value of going to an art school. I think you'll find this perspective a useful comparison with some of our previous guests who are not such a big fan of higher ed. So with that, please enjoy this episode with the mutant, Alec Hunstad. So one of the things that really impressed me about you is that, Damon was telling me how nice you were, how incredible your work was. that shows through in your ArtStation alone. But then when I was looking at your ArtStation, I realized that you had this breakdown of, what was this character called again? The Space Gladiator. So I was curious about this because most people would sell tutorials, and you just put this one up totally for free. And I've seen other people do that, but you're not promoting it as a free product to get other people into some kind of sales funnel. You just put it out there. What was your reason for doing that?
I think it's kind of just like to give back to the community, I guess, because I've learned so much from ArtStation and Polycount and ZBrush Central, and it's like just to kind of have something for people to see in my portfolio and maybe learn something from.
Yeah.
And as a student, I didn't feel like at the time I could like put a monetary value on it quite yet because I didn't have any like official character art experience.
Okay. But I've seen people with less experience than you put stuff up for money. Shut up, Colton. Your stuff's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I guess I didn't really think to sell it. It was more of a fun little project I did in during a break, and then I figured I'd just post it, and hopefully people got something from it, and then that's kind of...
Well, there's so much in here. You cover everything. Modeling, the sculpting, XGen stuff. You've got the hard surface, substance painter. I know how much work it is to put these things together, and it's incredibly detailed.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Really impressive
really
stuff.
Cool.
I think pretty much everyone would get some kind of tip out of it.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes, definitely.
I hope so. Another thing too is like it's reassuring for me to go through my process again, because this was the first character I did that had the whole 9 yards, like groom and skin and building a complex skin shader and doing crazy armor detail and all that stuff. So to kind of reiterate before going into the next term as a student, it was good to repeat everything and kind of to reinforce that for myself.
Definitely. The overwhelming amount of stuff that you do from start to finish, it has to be kind of crazy to go back through and actually like type that out. At any point where you were just like, how did I do that? Like, how did I do that?
Oh yeah, there was plenty of going back to my file and being like, wait a minute. Oh yeah, there's a noise in the magnitude and like all that stuff. So
reminding yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's stuck with me. So I think even just putting it together helped me kind of like solidify a workflow and have it all laid out, like modeling, going into texturing and all that stuff.
Yeah. Right. Well, we all know the best way to learn is to teach this stuff back too. So I'm sure that this helps you just reorganize them all in your mind, and you can always look back at them as a great reference.
Yeah.
Plus, if anybody ever asks you, how do you do this? You don't have to type up some kind of documentation. You just send them the link.
Yeah.
Makes it easy for sure.
Yeah.
So going back a little bit for you, we like to ask our guests where their journey kind of started. And was there some kind of movie or a game or some pivotal moment in Alec's past where he was like, this is the path in life?
Yeah, definitely have a movie and a game. The game is Halo 3, which I'm sure most people say.
The number of people who have said something, Halo something. It's us too.
That's just the thing.
Halo 3, and then District 9 is the movie. So,
nice.
Yeah, I kind of realized at that time, because they were similar times. District 9, I think, was 2 years after Halo 3. But but those two really kind of was like, oh, I can do this for a living, possibly.
What about that? Because, I mean, I played Halo 3, and I think retrospectively I was obviously learning from it, but at the time when I was playing it, I was just like, this is awesome! Like, I love this game! But you saw it and were like, I can do that as a living. What connected that for you?
So I had gotten into SketchUp a few years after. I knew that, like, 3D modeling existed and, like, someone had to make the stuff. Not to what extent, really. But then I would always, like, spend time in the customization menus.
Yes.
Looking at helmets. I would, like, spin the characters for hours. It's like, I need to unlock security helmet. I need to get the katana, like, get my 1,000 gamer score and all that. So I'd always had this obsession with character art. Like, didn't even really know what it was at the time, but it's always been kind of the back of my mind. And then as soon as I figured out years later that I could model stuff, I started with weapons and SketchUp and things. Just like didn't even know what a polygon was, but yeah, since the early days, it's been kind of just sitting there and marinating.
Yeah, much respect for being able to do a weapon in SketchUp. I used SketchUp a couple times to do
like to think that I could do a weapon in SketchUp.
We had to use SketchUp for we were doing business pitches in my econ class in high school. And so I tried to model out, like, we were doing a tattoo parlor, so I tried to model out what the interior of that would look like in SketchUp, and it was a pain in the ass. That program is so difficult.
So you went to SCAD as your first college, right?
Yeah, I went for
that
a
was
year.
Step one?
Yep. So I went
That's
for
a great school, too.
It is a good school, and I took a ton of drawing classes, of course, like foundations and some generals, and then their ZBrush instructor saw my stuff, and I got into like the senior level ZBrush class, which was a really good time. And then after that was like, I'm thinking I might want to go to Gnomon, just because like the industry is so much bigger out here.
Yeah.
So were you thinking about it because you wanted to start networking as well, or was it specifically about the quality of the classes?
A bit of both. Yeah, a little bit of both, because I knew that networking would be a lot easier if my instructors were also in the industry. Not that they weren't at SCAD, but like, you know, you have people that are teaching that come in on the weekends from places like Naughty Dog or Insomniac or any studio out here. So I think that's really a huge plus, and they can just throw your name out, and you get a job much easier that way, I think.
Yeah, like the quality of networking at Gnomon, I think, is kind of unmatched, at least as far as I know.
Yeah,
so, but
specifically with like in the LA area, it's hard to beat this. And like I can think of maybe Think Tank in Canada, but of course like they're not in LA, we're not in Canada, so
exactly,
it's hard to compete with Gnomon.
Exactly. I mean, you're how old were you when you were at SCAD?
18.
18, and you were already thinking ahead to like networking and all that. That's insane.
I don't know when I built my LinkedIn, when I put that together, but I had this like picture of me with the ZBrush book on there, like so
promoted himself early.
So good.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's when I was kind of like a ZBrush cowboy, just doing ZBrush, like nothing else. Didn't really know how to UV or retopo that well.
Yeah. But it was. Yeah. I mean, I think that gave you such a leg up when you got to Gnomon. Because I remember, like, I'd wanted to do characters for a long time, and I remember in Texturing 2, I was, like, itching at the bit. I was like, I want to do characters so bad, but we didn't have any ZBrush classes or anything yet. And so I remember in that class, you did this amazing, like, World War II soldier, or World War I soldier, sorry. And it was, like, a full character, and that was the day where I was like, I need to go talk to this guy, because he's on to something there that I need to learn from. So I walked up to you in class and was like, dude, I love your work. Like, how did you do that? You were like, ZBrush. I was like, I need ZBrush
that's
now.
The tool. That's the one. Yep. No,
so I wish I had that. But when you were there, it was just ZBrush, and you just were off to the races with it? How did you find getting into that, into ZBrush?
I started with ZBrush when I was a junior in high school, I think. End of 2015. So it's been about 4 years. And so I had wanted to be a concept artist. I think that's another thing that everyone wants to do beforehand.
Yep. 100%.
And then I was wasn't really progressing at drawing, and I discovered sculpting, and then I saw ZBrush, and it just kind of all fell into place there. But then the path to actual production character art was a bit longer than it was, or than I had anticipated, because I want to be like a creature concept artist just sculpting stuff. Yeah. Which is really rare, of course.
Yeah. Wouldn't we all like to have that job, though?
Right.
Just playing in ZBrush all day
Work
long.
at Aaron Sims and do that all day.
Would you ever see yourself, are you still kind of pushing in that direction? Because what's interesting to me...
Or...
Either concept, but also because you mostly work on movie things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Movies, right?
Yep.
So where did those paths diverge and you decided to go movies instead of games? Because most of the people we talk to are in games.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, like, before Gnomon, I was leaning more toward games and hadn't really done any, like, real-time rendering. Again, really hadn't done any UVing or retopology even.
Yeah.
Except for one character at SCAD. But Gnomon teaches such a VFX heavy track, and so I kind of just fell into place in that. Not that I had a problem with it, but we didn't have a game character class until later on.
Yeah,
and I decided to do the modeling and texturing track because I figured I could just hopefully at some point transition to games, because that's kind of the next thing I want to do.
Right.
Not transition fully, but like start studying real time and shading networks in Unreal and things like that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the path at Gnomon was a bit more VFX heavy, so I just decided to go with subdivision characters and stuff like that.
It paid off because you got did you get the 8 in a row best of term for your for your characters?
I not the last term because I didn't finish anything the last term, unfortunately. The internship was so stressful.
So 7 out of 8.
Yes.
That's a freaking great record, man. That's insane.
So I'm not familiar with that. This is every semester they rank they have the top student.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's
top
20
crazy, man.
pieces.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And they're all different categories and whatnot. And I think from your first term there to up until that last one, it was like every term he won a best of term. It was insane.
Wow. Yeah, when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, he's just doing high-res stuff. And then I saw some of your topology and realized that this was all... You'd done the low-res as well. I was like, damn it. He can do that too.
Yeah, no, he can do everything.
And then you have like the substance breakdown in the X-Gen. I'm like, okay, so what can't he do?
Right? Nothing. That's the answer.
Seems to be. I mean, yeah, if you wanted to going back to that question of like, if you wanted to just do concept stuff, do you look at people who are out there just doing the high-res ZBrush concepts and go like, that's kind of... I could do that. To
an extent, yeah. I mean, the design phase is really fun for me, but I think being able to take a concept and then bring it to the screen or to a game is like, I think that's a bit more fun. Yeah, just be able to see the end product in the product that you're shipping it with.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just doing the design, but I don't have anything against people that just design either.
It's true.
But I think having a technical... Because sometimes I get sick of sculpting, and I'm like, okay, I want to move on to texturing, and I'd rather... Or when I'm done with texturing, I want to go to shading and stuff, so it kind of breaks it up a bit more than just sculpting every day and all day.
Yeah. You get burned out on everything. Even if you love doing sculpting, you're going to get burned out eventually, right? So, but I want to go back to, we've been out of school for a few months now, and I want to know what that's been like for you. Like, how has it been out in the professional industry?
It's been great. Yeah, it's been fun. A lot of fun projects at MPC. We just had our little kind of holiday party. Another one on this Thursday, but it's like a gathering in the studio. We went over like our film reel and stuff.
Sweet.
And it's really nice to see like what we're a part of and kind of get a feel for the beginning of our career. So, yeah,
nice.
It's really awesome.
And you started as an intern there, right?
Yeah, started as an intern, and then about 2 months ago moved to a full-time CG artist.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Nice. What was has there been any difference between like the intern program and being a staff employee there?
Not really. It's pretty like the stress levels are the same, and it's
and what are those if you had to break them down?
It's not bad. It's not bad
good.
at all.
That's
You know,
good.
we do our 8 hours, and they're like, if you want to get out of here, go ahead. Like, don't stay longer for this. Like, it's fine.
Very cool.
If we're on crunch, then, which hasn't happened yet to me, luckily.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some jobs that people have had to stay till like midnight for, and even though that's rare, it's like it's definitely a thing that's just going to be that's pretty prevalent. But
yeah,
how big a team are you working on right now? Do you have like a couple core people?
Yeah, so we have like in our little CG den, I'm trying to think, maybe like 12 up there, and then there's another secure project in a locked away room in the back, which is it's a lot less than it was before. We were on it for a little bit. Did some modeling, texturing, look-dev work for it, which is a really good time.
Cool.
But then there was about 12 in there as well. So
So the whole studio is like pretty small then.
Yeah, the CG team is pretty small.
Oh, okay.
But then we have a ton of comp people, ton of colorists, and
Fair.
stuff like that. So yeah.
And you guys
so
doing...
CG in general is like pretty big.
And for those who don't know, MPC is like a production house, right? Like you guys are getting shots from clients and producing shots for film, commercials. What do you all of it? What are you guys doing?
Pretty much anything that involves like subdivision rendering.
Okay.
Like we'll get, sometimes it's full CG, sometimes we have a plate to work from.
Okay.
But it's pretty balanced in that regard.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Man, I want to see you work on District 9 too.
Oh,
that was one of my favorite
cool.
movies ever, man.
Yeah.
Were there any murmurs about that? I thought I saw something.
It became no.
Oh, was that? No, you're right. It became that. What was that other robot movie?
Elysium. No,
was it Elysium? Chappie. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Because it was originally supposed to be the Halo movie, right?
Yep.
And then it was District 9, and then District 9 2 became Chappie.
Yes.
It's like weird. Yeah, it's a weird
cycle.
A very strange cycle, but Chappie was good. I like Chappie.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was a fun movie.
I never
I
ended
still
up seeing
reference
it.
that robot.
Yeah.
The robot's awesome.
It's so
man.
good.
It holds up so well.
The animations on it, they had all these little secondary, the pistons moving around.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I just watched that clip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies to go back to, and it was such a trash movie, but Terminator Salvation. If you watch like the 10 minutes, just the outtakes of all the action scenes with just the robots and the helicopters, dude, that is like when I want to get excited about our career, that is the thing that I go back and watch.
Yeah.
Like I love that.
I love robots and stuff, man.
I know, man.
Yeah.
We're in the same boat there. It's all fun stuff.
Yeah. So, how like, I know you did a little bit of game stuff at Gnomon, but you're leaning now into the film, cinematic stuff. Like, what is it about that workflow that excites you and keeps you going towards whatever's next?
I think the exciting part is like not necessarily that we have no limitations, but that I can do like 8K textures and push for like true photorealism. Not that games can't, but the rarity of it in games pushes me more toward VFX for now, at least.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And do you feel like that allows you to express your art more, where if you were working in games, it's more limiting?
That's a good question, actually.
Because
I think maybe a little bit, because then I can truly test myself and see how far I can push a character.
Mm-hmm.
And again, not that you can't in games, but just to truly have no limits really within what you can render and how long it's going to take to render.
Well, it's interesting to me because you also enjoy the whole technical side of it, and I think you like probably the puzzle of saying, how do I optimize this so that it'll work, right?
Yeah, yes.
But, well, I guess the other side of the technical piece is that you're trying to figure out how to just make it look as good as possible, regardless of the limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of, I think look dev right now is the most technical thing that I'm trying to get a better grasp on. Just like production look dev techniques that I've learned a lot about at MPC. So now with the Mutant, I'm going to try to use some of those. But back to the working with limitations, I think it'd be really, because now I want to get into the game side of things.
Okay.
And for the character after the mutant's done, whenever that is, I want to try doing a real-time bust or something, a simpler project, hair cards and things that just to see, because I've never really done I've done one real-time character, but not to the extent I would have liked to, because that term was insane in terms of the amount of work.
Well, I like scrolling through your stuff, and you have a couple where you're just like, oh yeah, did this between classes. Like, what Gnomon student is able to say that?
Alec was a mutant through school, man. It's insane.
That's a good nickname.
Yeah. We had the cyborg and we had the mutant.
Alex.
Yeah. When it comes to the limitations, like what about games makes you want to go there? Because I feel like you're just starting off on the on the film side of things, and some people would want to just like go crazy and go as far as they can in that, but you find yourself kind of like jumping back and forth. What's that?
So like working in film, the amount of character work you do, or like full character work, like the fact that you can't really make a full character, you have an opportunity every once in a while to do that at some big film studios. but specifically in games and cinematics, you get to like build the whole character yourself. You get to model, texture, shade, do all that stuff. So I think in games, more studios have opportunities to like do the entire character and be a character artist.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas in film and television and cinematics, sometimes you're just like a modeler or a texture artist or a lighter or a look dev artist.
And what are you doing at MPC? Most of your job is what, modeling?
Modeling, texturing, look dev. Yeah.
Okay.
So like everything that encompasses asset work right now, pretty much.
Okay.
And that's also really fun. And so it's like, I would like to be doing that on all character stuff.
Sure.
Not only character work, but yeah.
But that's, I mean, characters are what you're passionate about, so you'd like to be able to just stay in that realm. Interesting.
Definitely. But yeah, the work I'm doing at MPC right now is like right along the lines of it. And even being able to do asset work and prop work is like, only thing I'm missing is the organics, which I can just do when I get home too, which is nice. True. So I'm totally happy.
That's good.
Yeah.
Speaking of working at home, how have you found the challenge of maintaining personal work while being a professional?
It's tough.
Yeah.
To put it lightly, I guess. It's like, I would love to come home and just keep going and finish stuff up faster and do more things, but sometimes you just need a breather, and playing games has been fantastic.
It has, isn't it? Man, it's so hard to like sit down and keep the discipline going when you get home, when there's just Call of Duty one click away, only one click away, you know?
Well, and one thing that comes up a lot is that it is one of those good escapes where you are still inspiring yourself, right? You're broadening your horizons of like what is out there right now, what kind of art is happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, certainly when we talked to Evan about it, he just found you as well.
Yeah.
And playing Destiny is, you know, you have that character that you're working on right now as well, so it's just like this constant give and take.
Definitely.
And I think it helps too when you're like really stuck in the zone and you just need something to pull you out. Games have, for better and for worse, that addictive quality that allows you to just lock into it and get into that flow state where you can just let everything else go.
Totally.
And that can be beautiful when it's balanced with, you know, you as a successful individual.
Exactly.
You're not a couch potato.
Yep. Yeah. And I think like another thing on that note is that the game you're playing at the time kind of can inspire the next project. At least for me, that's how it is. So now I'm thinking like, oh, there's this one concept on Pinterest. It's like this like covert military guy with like a machete and a mask and stuff, and it looks really cool. And it looks like the new, Nikto, the new operator in Modern Warfare that they've announced. It looks exactly like him. I'm like, oh, maybe I should do something like that next.
Oh, yeah, do it.
Or I just got Mortal Kombat 11, and I want to do like a Baraka character next.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like,
I'm surprised you didn't have it. You love Mortal Kombat. You waited so long.
I saw it on Black Friday. It was like $44 for the all the DLC in the game. I was like, I might as well do it.
Right. It's a good game.
Yeah, it's cool when that itch comes back just from playing the game. You just have to set the controller down, start sculpting.
No, absolutely. I love that.
Yeah. So it's you're still chipping away at the mutant piece. Do you think you're gonna jump off and like start like do something else and then go back and forth, or are you the kind of person who will take one thing and complete it and then start something else after?
For now, I want to like get it done, nothing else on my plate, just like finish it up. Since it had it so far from demo reel, it's like just been sitting there. I've been working on it slowly, chipping away at the face and the cloth and trying to like learn new things at the same time. But I'd like to like finish it up before I start anything else.
That's cool.
Are you a morning person or an evening person?
On the weekdays, I have to be a morning person, so I'm definitely. I would like to stay up till 4 o'clock every night if I could, but so I'm definitely an evening person.
Well, I'm curious just because we've been having this talk at Insomniac, and a lot of people have been talking about this concept of like the fresh squeeze in the morning. So a lot of our friends have been getting up early, like 5, 6 in the morning, and putting in a couple hours before they go to work, because you can easily roll into a lot of these places at like 9 or 10, and they've been finding it very beneficial. And just kind of having like, as soon as you get up, sometimes even before you have coffee, you're just like locked in. A lot of times you've been dreaming about whatever character you have. It's just, it feels so fresh. So I've been poking around with that idea a little bit, and even just starting with 15 minutes of sketching before I go to work. And because I used to be the same kind of person, like 3 or 4 every night.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. That was my life.
Yep. Sometimes I still do that on the weeknights too, and it's just like not four,
Oh,
but like I've been up till 3 a few nights.
And then you have to go to work the next day?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I do not. That sounds scary.
But when you are inspired like that, sometimes you just keep going, and suddenly you look down at the clock and it's
that late.
It's gone.
Yeah. Or early, if you want to say it like that.
Early in the morning. But that's that student schedule, like stay up till 4 a.m. working on your projects and then go to bed and wake up for class the next day.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how life was at Gnomon for sure. But I found that like I'm not a morning person by any means. Like I squeeze every bit of sleep out of my day as I can, but even though I was super tired, I found myself so much more creative at our 9 a.m. classes than I did at like if I were to sleep in and go to a 1 p.m. class. I just found like I could be tired, but for some reason I just have those juices flowing better at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
So maybe there's I guess that's probably has something to do with like circadian rhythm or whatever. Like there's just our brains kind of go through states throughout the day, and maybe that's just a morning thing.
Right.
Yeah, I think it depends a lot on the person too.
We also had a lot of 9 a.m. character classes, so maybe that's what
true.
Inspired you.
That's true. They always seem to be at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
That's rough. I wonder if they plan that because they know you guys are all going to be up so late, and they're
I mean, like, some terms would be go to bed at 6. I mean, you didn't have to, like, maybe it's just because of the way that I worked, but like staying up late, getting up really early, and then going back to it, especially in the first few terms, like when I was working on the for Texturing 2, that World War I soldier.
Yeah.
It was just like, not that I didn't want to get up, but you just are ready to go, and like I want to be at school at 9, I'll stay up until 3 working on it at home. Or you could take the route of like working until 1, getting up at 9, and then still getting your 8 hours of sleep, but working all those 16 hours of the day, which I could never do.
Yeah.
Like I had to take some time off to eat and to like watch a YouTube video or something to like kind of de-stress a little bit.
Well, speaking of taking that time off, the question of work-life balance always comes up when I see somebody as crazy as your art is. The first question that always pops in my head is like, what, before I met you, right? I'm thinking this guy must just do nothing but sit in front of his computer and sculpt all day. He's probably a massive jerk and he has no friends. And that is immediately the thought. And then I meet you, I was like, oh, man, he's a really, really cool dude too. So what is your approach to work-life balance?
I think it's just like going with the flow and trying to, I'm cautious about how much I work, and like because I want to keep doing personal pieces and keep building my portfolio. But if I'm not feeling it, I'm like, I'm not feeling it, and I'll play some games, and then usually that kind of kicks me back into sculpting mode, and I'll go back to sculpting the pants or whatever, or whatever I'm working on, stuff like that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It's just like if I'm feeling it, I'm feeling it. If I'm not, it's a no-go.
Just let it go.
Yeah.
I think it's harmful to try to force yourself to do work sometimes. Like, especially when you're doing a full-time job. Like, sometimes it's just like you're just going to beat yourself down and then be less productive the next day.
Yeah, because at work you're already like, you have to be feeling it. You have to do it. And so getting home, sometimes it's harder. And sometimes you're like, oh, I did so much today. I was so productive. Let's just keep it going. Yeah. So that's always nice too. But yeah,
when it comes to things like social time or just non-screen time, I guess, do you have other physical endeavors or cooking, or you play with your dog? I mean, are there other things that you do outside of it?
I should have some things.
Well, I mean, when I'm thinking about it though, there were times in my life too where it was just one screen to the next, right? And that was it. And it seems like for a lot of really great reasons, you're still in sort of that mode where you're incredibly productive, and you're able to go from playing a game, being inspired, to working on another project that you're inspired on. And I mean, I think if you live your entire life like that, well, I mean, to each their own, right? Like some people might be able to pull it off, but I think that it also might just be a phase too, right?
Yeah, because I'm kind of in that mode still of like work, and then my downtime is laying in bed on my iPad and just hanging out, and so like one screen to the next kind of thing. But I would love to get into airsoft more. You guys played airsoft before?
I want to.
Yeah?
I want to. He was telling me stories about him and his friends in like high school and whatnot, and they went hard on the airsoft, and I want to do that.
Like, that's what I want to hear about. Now we're in California, there's like, I don't know if you've heard of Evic, whatever the store's called. It's a big superstore that sells like walls and walls of guns. It's awesome. Yeah, so it's it'd be fun to get in there and get a new one, and then they have some really cool fields nearby that replicate like battlefields from around the world and stuff.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah. So,
and that's physical.
Yeah, exactly.
I watch
it's
videos
a good
of guys.
exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like playing Call of Duty, but you're outside and you're having fun.
And you have to actually run.
Yeah. So maybe it takes some conditioning, but we'll see.
Definitely. I mean, I got winded last night just dancing at our holiday party. So I need some cardio in my life.
No, dude, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I've only played paintball one time, and I don't know how similar that is, but yeah, something like we're running around with a gun, right, and trying to tag people. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So allow me to take this back to student stuff. You were inspiring to me in that we had the same workload, 6 classes, and from the start I was always like, I can fail one class because I can't handle all 6, but till the end you were like steadfast on like, I'm gonna get an A in every class, and you did, and
until 6 or 7.
I'll still say that's like out of 8 you made it all the way to 6, and then you barely slipped in a couple classes, but like I want to know how that was for you, and also like if you could do it again, would you do it the same way, or did you learn things from it? What was that like? Yeah,
I definitely don't have any regrets trying to get the most out of every class. Not that you didn't. But,
sure, yeah.
But like, I guess since high school I'd always had this like, I need a 4.0 mentality, you know.
Mm-hmm. What do you think that came from? Going one step farther back.
I don't know, actually. Just like, I think it was the stress of getting into a good school and getting a good scholarship, because I knew SCAD was crazy expensive.
And was that a pressure that you put on yourself?
Yeah, definitely. It was like, none of it came from my parents. Of course, they would have wanted the best for me for sure, no matter what.
Right.
And they would have pushed me if I was slipping like that. But all of the, like, I need a 4.0 came from myself for sure.
What was the earliest memory that you have of being a perfectionist of some kind?
After 7th grade, I was getting like not good grades up until 8th grade. Yeah.
Interesting.
So when I started 8th grade, I was like, okay, high school grades matter. I need to start now and start like getting all A's and just making sure I can do it before I get to high school, so that I can actually get a good scholarship down the road, even though that was like 4 years out.
Dang.
Was there like a moment where that pivoted though? I mean, 7th grade, like one day you woke up and you're like, God, man,
you saw that
I'm going to waste my life. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like, I won't be able to play as much kickball if I get D's.
Yeah, right? Go down for recess for 5 minutes less, 'cause I'm a bad student. I can't pinpoint like a time where it shifted.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you managed to carry that through to like the end of your college career.
Yeah.
But you would do it the same, was what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were a few times where I definitely would have liked to put more time into a character, like term 3 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily, because I had transfer credits from SCAD, I was able to get out of anatomy class, so I could spend more time on those characters. So I think that like anytime besides that, it was just like I got to push for the best grades I can get, just to kind of ensure myself that I'm getting the most out of every class.
Mm-hmm. So it was really about getting your values worth, rather than like at some point I'm assuming the GPA wasn't the driving factor there, right? Like,
yeah.
It was more like, I'm paying for these classes. Mm-hmm. There's knowledge to be had here. So
yeah, absolutely. I knew that like GPA, degree, and all that stuff plays like very little role in the stuff that we do, or the jobs that we get, I guess.
Yeah.
So I just figured, kind of treat every class like it's as important as the next, and then from that I just decided to pursue all A's, I guess.
Yeah, it worked, man. Yeah. It worked. I mean, your work didn't ever suffer for it, and that's what inspired me the most. Is like, because I almost feel lazy in that one class that I always bailed on, but I was like, but Alec can do it. Maybe I'll be like Alec someday. But today is not the day.
So speaking of GPA in high school and all these, if you were talking to a high school student, some highly driven high school student who wanted to be like Alec when he grew up, What would you say to him in terms of how he could spend his next 4 years? Are you the kind of person who would recommend college, or with all the resources available online, are there better places there? Apprenticeships, internships he could take on? What would you recommend to somebody in that position?
I still think I would go the college route, even given how expensive it is. It's hard to tell everyone to do that, but Gnomon gave me so much that I don't think I could have gotten by myself, no matter how much I worked, no matter how hard I worked. And it was also difficult for me initially to like know what to study at what times, and like, okay, I need to know anatomy, I need to know shading and texturing and UVs and retopology. Yeah. And a lot of that's really daunting to get into right away.
It really is.
So yeah, I would definitely recommend going to a school if it's an option for them. But with the stuff that's available online, it is definitely difficult to say that for everybody.
Yeah.
And what if they couldn't go to Gnomon, but they could go to SCAD? I don't want to throw SCAD under the bus, but are you saying that Gnomon is, like, you either have to choose the best school in the world to go to, or you should just study online?
I think anything works as long as you have a structure to go from. Anything helps. I'm definitely not like a community college for 3D modeling, and that stuff is usually not great. But SCAD was great. Gnomon's great. I know a lot of, even some of the art institutes, I'm sure. They produce good artists. Like, I think Frank Zhang went to an art institute.
Wow.
Before he dropped out, I think.
Yeah, he was not doing well, and then he made 27 characters or something, he said, and then went to Naughty Dog. So
that's crazy.
There's definitely a benefit to having a structure to go off of or to work from. And I think the school route is really helpful if it's an option.
What do you, if you were, say you're just like, I want to do concept art, but I actually want to do 3D characters or whatever it may be, and you're in high school, what do you suggest to start that path? Would you say, like, I don't know, anatomy, or learning how to model, like, non-characters, or what do you think is a good starting place for character art?
Yeah, if they're like, I want to be a character artist in production, then I would start with anatomy and sculpting, and then work your way into, when you have a good thing that you've sculpted, and start trying to like build good topology for it and UV it and texture it and do all the steps in a row as they're done in production. And if that's hard to tell to a high school student, for sure.
Yeah, it is, but it's true.
Yeah, definitely. And like also to just focus on one thing, not to like do the character art and then the rigging and then the animation and then everything else. It's like, just do an awesome character and some nice stills, and then if you want to later down the road, when your character art skills have like developed really thoroughly, then get into like CFX and 3D printing or whatever else they want to pursue.
But trying to do all of that, you think, is maybe harmful to like progression?
Yeah, I think so. Just to like get really good at one thing, and then if you want to keep branching out from there.
Very cool.
I think that's important.
Are there some top resources out there that you would recommend to even somebody who's in high school? I find myself going to just say, check out ArtStation, go on there every day and get inspired. Are there other things out there, forums or tutorials, that you would point somebody early on in their career to?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time when I wanted to be a concept artist on the concept art forums, conceptart.org. But for character art, I would say like CGMA has some great classes. Polycount, obviously. I remember reading a ton of Gavin's stuff on there early on, and like, I know he hates demo reels and all that. It's funny.
Isn't it?
But I would definitely say CGMA, Chris Costa's class, Fly on the Wall. That seems really good. I haven't done any courses yet because I'm trying to save up for some of his offline classes.
Yeah.
And then Mold 3D Academy is another good place. Like Jason Hill teaches a cool real-time character class
he's
there.
Great.
Yeah, he's the guy at, I think he's still at Turtle Rock. Was at Respawn for a little bit. But,
cool.
But yeah, some of those are really good resources.
What about anatomy resources? Because I know you were like a library of that stuff.
I studied from Bernd Hogarth's Dynamic Anatomy, which is like a not too huge of a book, but it breaks down the muscles really nicely and then shows tons of different drawings of people doing crazy stuff.
Oh, cool.
and then what's the name? Encyclopedia Anatomica, I think.
Wow.
It's the huge, like 2-3 inch thick book of just drawings of écrochet and the origin and insertion of every muscle on every major animal, like horses and cattle and dog and humans, of course.
Wow.
Yeah, those are the two main ones that I studied from.
When did you start learning those things? Like, were you in like early college or late high school where you were just like, I'm going to start learning anatomy? Because I didn't have that thought until like halfway through Gnomon, you know what I mean?
I had a wake-up call on conceptart.org when I was doing drawings of creatures and characters, and like I would pride myself on not using reference at all, and then someone was like, why are you doing that? Like, why don't you use reference?
Yeah.
Why don't you study anatomy? I was like, I didn't know artists did that, you know?
Right.
So I got the Dynamic Anatomy book after that, and then just started going from there.
Okay. So it's pretty early on.
Yeah, pretty early for sure.
Dang.
Are there anatomy tools that are coming up or things that you're excited about? I guess that could be a more general question. Are there games or movies that you're excited about that are coming up soon?
Cyberpunk?
Cyberpunk 2077, dude.
The Last of Us. Movies. Wow, good movies.
I feel like we just went through a great movie run, and now there's nothing for a little bit.
Yeah, I just had Joker. Star Wars is coming up.
Yep.
That's true.
Hopefully that's great.
My roommate's been, he just made it through the last 2 Star Wars movies today.
Oh, nice.
So he's all ready. He's caught up.
Cool.
I was catching him, my door open.
Nice. Yeah, we're going to see that, I think, on the opening night. So
Sweet.
That should be nice.
For sure.
Yeah, we got to plan something and go.
Yeah, how about you guys? Anything coming up that's...
Star Wars is definitely the big one. That's one that I already have plans with my family when I go home to go see it with them, because it used to be the last 2 movies came out the final day of our college classes, so it was like the perfect wrap up to finals. We'd all be tired, we'd just be exhausted, so happy that the tests were over, and we all would have bought our tickets like 2 months before, and like the whole school would go to see Star Wars. People had their lightsabers in the theater, and it was insane. It was so fun to see that. But now I'm out of school, it's still a really fun thing to do with my family.
Yeah, that's great.
That's the big one.
I'm just coasting off of the Master Chief Collection on PC coming out.
Have you played it yet? I've heard really good stuff.
I've been playing it. I played a bunch today.
Yep.
I played over the week, but it's fun. It's like a total blast from the past. I don't know. Power of nostalgia is huge this year. Like, so many nostalgia blasts have happened this year, with World of Warcraft Classic and Halo coming out.
COD going back to boots on the ground finally.
Yeah, COD going back, exactly.
Yep.
So I'm just coasting off of that, and I find myself, instead of looking like forward to what I'm looking forward to, I find myself like being surprised constantly. Like, I forgot Halo was coming out, and then and my friend's like, dude, I'm downloading Halo today. I was like, oh no, you said it on Instagram. You're like, you gonna play Halo? I was like, oh, it's out? Okay. And then I got super hyped on that, and so I'm just coasting. But yeah, it's more about what's happening right now that's got me excited. I wish I had something to look forward to, but I feel like we're in a little bit of a dead period before Star Wars, and then maybe next year some cool shit will happen.
Yeah, what I'm concerned about right now as an overall trend is how often, I feel like a lot of businesses are falling back on like reboots right now, because they know there's going to be an audience for it, right?
Yeah.
And my hope is that once they sort of exhaust all the reboots they can do, that they pivot into something completely new. Like, we've talked about the Cybertruck on this podcast before, but I've got it as my wallpaper right now.
Yeah.
And that to me is just, I mean, people would even say that's a reboot, right? Like, it's coming from these old
PS2 graphics.
Sure. Yeah.
LODC.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, things. What I'm blanking on the movie right now that it's even based on, Blade Runner.
Yeah.
That in a way that's like a blast from the past, but it's also completely new, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of thing that, if you really want to know what's exciting to me, it's seeing things like Death Stranding, the Cybertruck, Spider-Verse. Totally new stuff. Yes. I don't even care if I like it, man. No, I'm just about that artistic freedom.
Yeah.
Cool.
I saw that Sid Mead, on the note of a Cybertruck, Sid Mead commented on it and said he really loved the design.
Oh, really?
He was the guy that designed the Blade Runner, like the whole universe of Blade Runner.
And all of that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, and Elon had basically shouted out and said, we designed this based on your designs. Yeah, and when you look back at them, even the Blade Runner movie that came out recently, you see the angles of that car, and you see them echoed directly in this.
I mean, it makes sense. He's like the godfather of modern design.
Like futurism and all that stuff, for sure.
One way or another. I mean, we had a class, we had a visual structure class with a really awesome teacher named Andrea, and she basically put all art into 2 camps. It's either Blade Runner or it's not Blade Runner. Like, everything since Blade Runner either leans heavily on the lessons that they learned from Blade Runner, or they don't. And they are purposefully trying to go away from Blade Runner. And, like, that could be as true as you want it to be, but, like, I think there's something cool to that movie, and Sid Mead's design specifically, like, shaped so much of what we think of as common design.
Yes.
I wonder if the next big change, the next big Blade Runner is going to come from either a brand new artist or a change in technology. Mm-hmm. Because I think that might have been an overlap with Blade Runner too, is that suddenly these graphics were possible. And maybe something in VR or some type of new device that allows you to just experience entertainment differently. Maybe that could be the next frontier.
Yeah. It could be. I think in smaller ways, we're seeing it start to happen. Like, after how amazing Spider-Verse was, like, we're seeing like animated movies either leaning heavily into like that crazy stylized hypercolor, like Spider-Verse-esque kind of things, or they're doing the exact opposite and trying to do something completely different. Yeah. So I think in micro ways it's happening with the things like that. But I don't know if I don't know where we're gonna get our next Blade Runner that shapes the next 15 years of movies or games. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe this guy will do it.
Yeah, it's gonna be Alec.
I'd love to be a part of whatever does it.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
How have you found? It's kind of a side pivot, but how have you found working on a team, like a professional team? Because in Gnomon, we work very isolated, right? And with the exception of our group projects or whatnot, like it's a lot of self work. Mm-hmm. So how have you found the experience of being on a team?
It's really nice to have people to like riff off of and to collaborate with, just so you can like make decisions faster and like the art comes together a bit quicker.
Oh, cool.
Just because you have a direction, and you know where you want to go with stuff. But overall, it's like, it's just been a really good time.
Cool.
Yeah.
You just seem like you love every part of this so much. Is there if you had to rank them, what is the least favorite part of your job or this career in general?
Fair question.
At the moment, no organic work yet. That's the main thing. And then, you said career in general?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, either way that you want to answer it.
Since it's been so short, my career's been so short so far, that's probably it. Just like the lack of like sculpting I get to do. I've been able to do some sculpting, and that's been really fun when I get to. But at the same time, that kind of pushes me to learn other things that aren't necessarily sculpting. I might not be using my sculpting skill set at work right now as heavily as I'd like to.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm doing a lot more look dev than I expected to. Not that I expected, but that... what's the word I'm looking for? Just doing other things that are getting me out of my comfort zone, I guess.
Yeah, broadening your horizons.
Yeah, environment layout and things like that. It's just like totally not character work, but it's different, and I'm using tools that I can use for characters that I can go home and do more of. So, yeah, that's been great.
So they have you doing some like environment stuff.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
I wouldn't have expected that.
Yeah, some MASH, things like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
All that AVFX work that we had in that class.
Dude, digital sets, like, I did not expect all of that to come full circle, but it totally did, and very early on.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you've got killer environments, too. I mean, it's just another one of those things where, like, he can't do this, too. This is insane.
Yeah.
He's got it all.
That's what I'm saying, man.
What's the one that you were showing me with the stirrups in it? The hospital room.
Oh yeah,
called, right? Except one of the gynecologist's office.
Yeah.
I didn't know at all what it was at first, and then we
were laughing so hard. Yeah, it looked like
so good.
It was like the haunted Planned Parenthood. Like that's what I was looking at.
Yeah, pretty much. I was in such a rush to find a good piece to recreate for that. It was Intro to Maya, the first class and the first project in 3D I'd ever done before. I was like, this is nice lighting, nice mood. I always wanted to do like a dilapidated interior hospital area.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not exactly what I expected it to be.
Well, I mean, dude, you could definitely play that up, though. And, I mean, it adds so many dimensions to the pieces as a piece of art.
Yeah,
now.
true.
Yeah. You can say, like, yeah, this is a political statement. And this has a really deep message.
That's what we're here for.
These are my feelings on humanity.
Yeah. I try to steer away from that stuff as much as I can.
Okay, well.
That's a smart move, my friend. Gosh, that's so funny.
It is beautiful lighting, though. I mean, incredible
really
stuff. I like that one. The Firefly,
Last of Us.
The Last of Us piece was also really nice.
Thanks.
Yeah. If you could, this is a random question that just popped in my head, but if you could choose one project or one class that you went through at Gnomon or SCAD and picked it as your favorite, what would it be and why?
It's tough between like Lockjaw and the Space Gladiator, not to be like, my work, oh yes, you know that.
Yeah, you can.
But that is a big impact, though. Yeah. It's like remembering what you were working on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. To look back into like I've come a long way for sure. But Space Gladiator, I think, is the best. Not the best, but the one I look back on most fondly because it's like the whole production value to it, I guess. It's the one I would show employers over all the other ones.
Yeah, sure. you hit every base with that character, so I could understand why that was like the one, you know?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
In a similar vein, I was listening to a podcast with Adam Grant, I think is his name. He's what is it? Not a behavioral psychologist. I'll figure this out later. He was talking about the type of people that we respond really well to, and I was thinking about the teachers that you had for these classes. Do you have a type of teacher that you respond that sort of brings out the best in you? That, like, is it the person who pushes you really, really hard and that has impossibly high standards, or is it the person who is just ready to give you resources when you need them?
I think a little bit of both. There was one that was definitely more along the lines of like totally crazy expectations, not crazy, but like felt almost unachievable for what we knew at the time. But then, of course, they were achievable because she pushed us really hard. You know, Tran Mom. Yeah. So she and Miguel were huge, played a huge role in pushing me further. Andrea, who we did that group project for, helped us a lot with creative direction and like making better design decisions. Yeah.
And I would say that Andrea was more on the like she gave us resources when we asked for them, and was always available for that, as opposed to like the high expectations, like hard ass side of things. Yeah,
for sure. Joe Kraszewski, really good creature designer. Yeah. So we had his creature modeling class, which was a really good time.
That one was really fun.
Yeah.
And for somebody who
name everybody, I don't want to leave anybody out either, but like there's so many good instructors at Gnomon. Every term I had somebody that was like super inspiring and they just kept pushing us.
Yeah, and they all had a different style of teaching and bringing the best out of their students, which I thought was very interesting.
And for guys who are as intrinsically motivated as both of you seem to be, it seems like you just have to be able to respond well to the people who might put on extra pressure. As long as you don't take that too personally, then you're going to be doing hard work either way.
Exactly.
You're going to be growing.
Yeah. Well, I think like personally, when I was going into Gnomon, I was coming from a place, I was going from like a community college where there wasn't enough direction, and like it was, the most I had was a teacher who was like, whatever you want to do, like I'll help you do it. But most of my classes were like really aimless, like just we're going to be doing still lives all day or something like that, like very fundamental stuff, which is great, but I wanted a place where I could really like, they give you like, this is what you need to do, now go and do. Execute. And so execute. And when I got to Gnomon, it was like every teacher, even though they had a different style, they all gave you the assignment of do a thing and finish it. And I think that I never had a problem with how they told me to do that. It was always just like, I'm ready to go. Yeah. And we would just go. And I think that's a lot of people going to Gnomon. Yeah. But
and the freedom that came with it was really nice too. You could pick your concept. Like it had to be within the guidelines of the class, of course. Yeah. but like you got to build your portfolio the way you wanted to build your portfolio, and choose the track that you wanted to go into. So I thought that was super valuable too.
Definitely.
And then with that came the instructors, and it all just kind of worked out.
Yeah. It's a great place.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a good place. I mean, there was a big kind of debate about this at my school, because we would sometimes have professors who students felt like they pushed them too hard. But I also sometimes wondered, well, is that just the student internalizing the feedback wrong? And we've talked about feedback before too, and just how you can take feedback wrong from anybody, right? And it's how you deal with that yourself. So it seems like both of you just have really good strategies for dealing with different types of feedback from different people.
Yeah,
I'd like to think so.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely, there's harsh critiques, there's non-harsh critiques. You get the whole range at Gnomon. But yeah, it's just all about how you take it. Even the harshest critique, because it's usually from a place of wanting to help.
Yeah.
Do you feel like most of the pressure actually comes from the other students?
There is definitely, there's always, of course, best of term that comes out every term, and it's always like you want to be competitive but also not toxic, and that's really important for sure.
Yeah, so as the king, how do you deal with that balance? Mr. 7 out of 8 best of terms, and I only didn't get that 8th because I didn't submit one.
He would have gotten it too.
Did you have an approach to like making sure that people didn't think you were that cocky asshole?
I mean, just like when you're present at school, just be a good person and like do your thing, sit at your desk and don't go looking over people's shoulders like, hey, you know what, I know you didn't ask for help, but maybe move this muscle over here because it like looks better this way, but like being receptive to criticism and then giving good criticism when people ask for it, that's super important.
Did you find yourself teaching people there as well? I wonder if, going back to the Space Gladiator, if that's when you think of like ways to give back, and that's a way to sort of not necessarily take yourself off a pedestal, but to say, guys, I'm here for you as well, right? I'm not just here for myself. I wonder if that's like another way for somebody as incredible as you to not seem like an ass,
to put stuff out there and to be like helpful in the community. For sure. I think that's super important as well. Like either paid or unpaid tutorials, stuff like that. Nowadays I definitely want to start making stuff that is more accessible and that it can also make some money off of. But there's always that side of it too.
I would say like going to the question of like the pressure from students around us and like what that did, it's definitely present at that school. Like any screen you look at, someone's doing something that you could never imagine of doing. There's so many good people there that like every time you're working there, it's just a pressure cooker of like, I need to be as good as what's around me. But it's up like when there's someone like you, like Alec in your class, like specifically for me, I was like, Alec's doing work at the level that I want to be doing, so I could either be overly competitive with him or like we could become friends and help each other. And I think we really did that. And you were always willing to like offer guidance and critique, and we would brainstorm ideas together and stuff. And it was really this cool like students uplifting other students no matter what level they're at.
Was that
helps take the pressure off.
Was that unique in your class, or is that like a cultural thing?
Overall, it's pretty common.
Yeah, it's definitely a common thing there.
There is still like toxicity, especially with the best of term. When that comes up and people post on Facebook, and it's like, it doesn't need to be that way,
Is it necessary for them to have that?
Like, for the best
of term?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question.
It's helpful?
I think it's a really good
motivator.
goalpost to have, because like, love it or hate it, when you get it, it feels amazing. And it's definitely something to strive for, and it pushes people to work harder. And there's definitely some hard feelings when, maybe it doesn't go your way sometimes. But I think it's a net positive. Like, as long as people aren't like hurting themselves to try to get it, it's definitely it's good to have like a golden apple to reach towards, in my opinion.
For sure.
Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. Like, no matter how much toxicity there is surrounding it, I think with what you said, it's like super beneficial to have something to push for, and not even just because you win a prize for it, but just because it's a cool thing for a school to do to celebrate student work.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the student gallery in a way.
Yeah, and it's also like it's a really good. It's really good to put on your resume. So like, if nothing else, like it's the people who do get it, like. It's a resume booster, and so it's offering value to the student more than just like good feelings.
Yeah.
So that's cool
for sure.
It seems to fall into the same bucket as things like ArtStation challenges or any of those challenges.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And it's just the way the students interpret it, and they make it toxic for no reason. They don't. It doesn't have to be that way.
It's it's how it's framed, I think, by the school. Because you would look at those challenges and say, well, this is massively beneficial for the community. It's all these people working together. Yes, we rank a couple of the top ones at the end, but everybody's improving during the process.
Exactly.
Because no matter what the contest is, there's always going to be someone that's like, I thought that was better than the one that won.
Right.
What do you do? You know?
Yeah, you really can't do anything about it other than just, all right, next time.
Yep.
You know?
I've found those challenges, I mean, I've talked about them a lot, but I think they are just one of the best ways to learn and network online.
Yeah, they do a really good job at variety in genre and like the whole production phase where you pick a concept that the first phase did.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And, like,
I love that.
Yeah, it's really nice. Like you bring everybody together and
yeah,
it's awesome.
You did, we've talked about it before, but you were able to work those challenges into your school work, and I really wish I had done that. Would you have done that?
I've considered it a few times, but none of them, like, the Feudal Japan was around, when was that?
Yeah, that was like term 7.
Halfway through?
Or
term
so.
7? Okay. None of it lined up with, like, the concepts I was considering or the ones that I thought I would be able to push my technical skill set a bit more with.
Sure.
But, yeah, I definitely want to do it at some point.
Yeah, I do too.
It'd be really fun.
Yeah, for your foray into game characters, I was thinking that could be an interesting one because I think it feels like they're about to publish a new one now. I think they've been wrapping up that golden ticket one, but they've just published all of their interviews of the last set of winners, so I feel like it's got to be coming around soon.
I hope so.
I'm definitely going to keep my eye on it.
Yeah, maybe. Depending on the theme, I might do it. We'll see.
Be cool. Get a group together,
Oh, hell yeah.
That'd be sweet.
That could be really fun. Could be like the ShapeLanguage community could get behind it too. Have our own little club doing it.
It'd be very fun.
Get some other insomniacs on board.
Yeah. Cool, man. So what's next? What's your next goal in your career?
I don't know, actually.
It's like I'm just trying to get to next Tuesday, man.
Yeah. I mean, just keep pushing for getting personal work out. Keep learning stuff. Of course, new real-time things, endeavors, maybe 3D printing.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
You already have some really cool pieces that would be fun to print.
Yeah, anatomy stuff especially, because a lot of the mechanical things are harder to pull off, but you have some really good ones you could do.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, not only with like doing tutorials and things, but like what model printing what kind of income that could bring as well. Like, who knows?
Yeah, and we have. Did you take advanced sculpting with Paul Gabery?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have a resource there. The guy's like a master of printing and toy making and all that, so...
Yeah, it's his business.
It's his business, exactly.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I think it's just staying consistent on personal work. I'm loving MPC.
Good.
And go from there.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So I had one more thing that I wanted to ask you, and this is, what do you think separates the good artists from the great artists? And this can be as broad a question as you want to take it. I mean, you were just talking about being at the Getty yesterday and some of the artists that you saw there. What would be...
It's a great question.
It's a big question. I don't know if you have your 2 cents that you want to add to this one as well.
I'll think about it, but you should.
Maybe it's just being a good person and a good artist.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the best artist could be a good artist if he's an asshole, and a great artist is someone you want to work with.
Yeah.
But it is also like has great production value. That's one way of interpreting it, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a tough question.
Yeah, I would say on that 100%. Like, the personality behind the artist, I think, is what makes the great artists. Like, the ones who not only create good art but give back to the people around them. But also just I think great artists never settle and are never satisfied and are always like trying to push forward with every single thing they do.
Right.
And when you put something out, like we were talking before the podcast of like, I could never put my work up on the walls because like I hate them. Like, I hate my work, and I need to. We need, like, you see the problems and you work forward from them. But I think the best artists that we look up to probably, are in that same boat of like just never satisfied, always pushing forward.
Like, the master never thinks he's a master.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are interesting takes. It's interesting to hear you both define great artists as people who are creating something for other people, which I suppose seems obvious in some ways.
Because like every artist kind of does that in a way.
Right.
But like a resource.
But I think there's also this notion of it being sort of a selfish act. And I think that what I'm picking up from your definitions of it is that it's something that makes the community a better place.
Right.
And I feel like that comes from your experience of having these amazing experiences playing games and watching movies and how much that's improved your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I hope to be a part of the game that inspires someone to follow in my footsteps, like someone made a game that inspired me to do this. So I want to be a part of that for somebody else. And I think that's one of the biggest driving factors for me, and maybe for you guys too.
Someone in high school sees your name in the credits and then goes to the art station, they're like, oh, I want to do that. It's exactly how we started, kind of. So
exactly.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Definitely.
Nice.
All right.
Well, dude, it has been such a pleasure meeting you and getting to know you through this talk. And was there anything else that you wanted to plug? I know you don't have products out there or anything yet, but hoping for some 3D prints soon.
Oh, I'd love to.
Have to keep your eyes out for that one.
You got a customer right here.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me. It's been great.
Of course.
As far as plugs go, I don't think I have much right now. I wish I could talk about some of the things that I'm working on, but
likewise, my friend.
soon enough. Who knows? Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, it was just, genuine pleasure to sit down and just have this chat with you, and I'm sure we'll get to do it again soon.
For sure, yeah. Thanks guys.
Cool, man.
Alrighty.
Until next time.
Yes.
Until next time. Peace out.
Peace.
Later.
What a man. You're something else, Alec. Make sure you check out those show notes so you can get those anatomy resources that he talked about, plus everything else that we mentioned in the episode. As a quick reminder, Damon is working tirelessly to keep you up to date on our new ShapeLanguage Insta and Twitter at shape_language, so make sure you follow that. And also a quick thank you to those of you who have been writing in with such supportive comments. It really means a lot to Damon and I that people around the world are gaining something from our talks. So whenever you're feeling inspired, giving us a good review and a sweet comment always makes our day. We'll probably be taking a short break over the holidays, but don't you fear, ShapeLanguage will be back come the new year. That's my cheesy rhyme of the day. I love you all, and for those of you with breaks coming up, enjoy some quality time with your loved ones. Until next time, my friends, never forget your power as an artist. Peace.